This meeting is being recorded.
Hi. On this video, I'm going to show you two reports that I believe that you will find extremely useful for your financials implementation right from the start. These are reports that you can use to discover the kind of structures that have been defined for your organization, to test the posting of financial transactions, and then to analyze financial results, or when you're trying to not necessarily debug it, but understand the value that you're getting in a certain cell in a report, you can use one of these reports just to go and analyze it. Now, I've packed them all into a worklet over here. You can access them by our custom reports, so you obviously can put your name in there. Over here, you have a categorization by role. Now I'm the financial analyst, and now here are the two reports I've been talking about. The first one I'm going to show you is this opening activity equals to closing report. Again, these are very high level reports. It's going to show you an opening amount, the debits and credits, and a closing amount, but extremely, and in an extremely, let's say, flexible fashion. And the other one's accounting results. You're going to pick a couple of work tags, periods, etc., and you're going to get a financial results app, an amount. And thereafter, you can slice and dice this amount to come up with the value that you're actually looking for. So let's go here and execute this one first. So here are a couple of prompts that come up that's pretty standard in financial reporting in Workday. So here you can pick a company or a company hierarchy. That's great things. You can pick hierarchies or companies. I'm going to go GMS USA for the period. I'm going to here it always shows you current prior periods. If you want periods further back, you can go here. So I'm going to pick March. The time period, I'm going to pick two most used options, current period year to date. I'm going to use year to date because I get more results. I'm going to leave this blank for now. I obviously want to report in US dollars. Please note this was really defaulted in, so it's a useful thing for you, to do for your users, default wherever possible. And then here we have filters, so it's also a great thing to do for your users so they can save results, right? So you can just March 2019 GMS user. So next time I don't have to fill that out. I execute the report and it dials up for me. And so yes, here I see it. Opening amount, debits, credits, closing amount. Down here you have the ledger account hierarchy. So as defined by your FDM sessions. You will find that this definition is very important because in a flexible report like this, it's going to start giving you sensible results. So you're seeing over here, opening, thank God, of course, it needs to bounce to 0 because this opening over here, because it's a year-to-date report, it's January, it's the opening balance in January. So we have assets and liabilities and equity. Then between January, February, and March, we have these debits and credit postings, and hence we will get this closing value. On the balance sheet side, clearly use your closing balance. Here, you just obviously understand your closing and your income statement, obviously your net results year to date. Hence, that's why I'm using these terms closing and opening. I'm not calling them opening balance and closing balance because depending on what you pick over here, it means different things. So opening, debits, credits, closing is what I find is the most flexible. Now let's have a look at what we have in here and just a quick walk down the balance sheet for you, just to show you what functionality we have available. Here we hit up our current assets. Now I'm expecting to see bank. Click down. Now this is the hierarchy that we can. This is your ledger account hierarchy. To get to cash, some feature I want to show you over here. So obviously here with this little button over here, you can get your drill down areas. And obviously this is by bank account. Right? So here you have all your bank accounts and your balances by bank account at the end of March. So that's pretty cool. Then if we go further down our balance sheet, we hit our accounts receivable. And now obviously here, what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you the fact that you can go to your customer, drill down this balance here, split up by customers. And so you see Wayne Industries is your biggest customer, owes you the most money. Another feature, we have a customer over here. With Workday, you can always see a new tab. Hop onto the customer account, and then you have your various information about your customer, addresses, etc. We're interested in invoices and payments. It'll hit you up with an aging right away. And here under related reports, you have various things, right? And so, for example, you want to see open items here, you select that. What we're doing now is jumping from, let's say, the general ledger off into a customer open items now, what would traditionally have been seen as a sub-ledger. So here we go back to USA, and I'm just going to dial this up and just show you here, this is a flat-out standard report that's available for you in every tenant as you dial up. And here you have your balance for Wayne Industries now. So that was accounts receivable. We drilled down to customers, jumped into customer accounts, and then jumped to another report that showed us open items. Pretty much the same is going to happen in accounts payable. You'll have very much the same feature. What we're going to go ahead up here now is our assets area. So we have here our capital assets, furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Unfortunately, do not have asset or business asset here as a drill down. There is that link, unfortunately, is missing. Best we can do at this point is spend category, so you can split this thing up by spend category, so you know what broad categories you have in your assets area. If you want to have more detail, you're going to have to run another report. And here's asset, I think there's an asset net book value report. And so you can pick, again here, this is a standard report that you get from Workday, your accounting book, and you pick your period. Whoops, definitely not there. I'm going to go to 2019 March and then execute this. So now here you will see that value itemized by asset, right? So now you have your assets, companies, etc., and then your ABCs here, and getting to your current net book value. So there is your assets side of things. Going further down, all of this is fairly now standard. One thing I do want to point out here in liabilities and equity, we are going to get to what's our retained earnings here. And so we have, here is the retained earnings as at the beginning of the year. And then, so obviously for this retained earnings, you would eventually add your net income to the retained earnings if you wanted to see net retained earnings for the rolling year. All right, so having mentioned net income, now we can hop into net income accounts. Revenues, so if you want to understand what these revenues are, we have a revenue category. So obviously the definitions of these things are exceptionally important to understand for you to be able to do this kind of analysis. So here are your revenue categories. And of course, on your expenses side, you are expecting expense categories, supply, spend categories. And so this is what you spend your money on. And then also, where did you spend it on, right? So what cost center is using this gas, electricity, so you can do a drill down by, now click something wrong, did not cost center, and so here you have your cost center. So yep, all in that facilities. All right, so there was a quick walk down the balance sheet, income statement, and just to give you the links to other areas and how it all flows together. Now getting back to this report, the fact is that it is, as I said, it is exceptionally flexible with the way it runs. Another thing that I wanted to show you is now I've run this thing as a year to date. And please note that on the year to date, I have for the balance sheet, of course, I have my opening amounts. For net income, I have a 0, right? I just have the net result year to date. If I now go back and run this, not year to date, but run for the current period, just want to show you this functionality, you end up having, clearly still, I mean, you obviously still hitting your zeros here, but now you'll see on your income statement side, you have an opening, and that is the net income year to the prior period, so January, February, right? Income, and this is what you had in March, and then you have your March and net income result. And obviously, if you don't want to, now, as I said, this is very flexible. I can copy this. Now, if I want this, just to run this as an income statement, I can drop in here my net income, and now one find it does not like this colons. Does not even like that. So I'll hit up with net income and then get net income here. And now I actually have I can use this thing as this report as an income statement, right? So now it starts off with net income, and it shows you net income results. So that's why I say I really like this from the start. It uses structures, dynamic structures that you've defined in your FDM based on obviously your hierarchies. Now, obviously, this stuff, it's very, very important that this reflects your structure, your balance sheet, and income statement with the ledger account summaries. And how they're structured. So this structure needs to reflect as close as possible your balance sheet and income statement, because then you get the benefit of flat out being able to use these structures in a dynamic fashion like this. And here, one more thing. Yes, books. Right, so you have different books, and you can obviously pick your books that you're running this for. So you can run this as for the common book. All right. So how does this thing look like? Let's hop into it. This as what we call a composite report. Composite report is highly used in financial reporting for two reasons. One, we have the structures, the fact that we're able to use structures and drill down like this. And the other thing is that we can have obviously different columns of data. And that is what composite report does for you. So what you're seeing over here, the structure over here is controlled by this row definition here. And the row definition here, as if you just have a look at it, it basically takes an outline structure. So it says over here, this just tells me that I'm using from the top. But here's the important thing, right? The outline structure is called ledger account. So now you'll see this outline structure. It is defined essentially that using the hierarchy structure, right? So it's based on the business object ledger account. It uses the ledger account summaries that we've just seen over here, right? That are defined over here. It's used a lot. Yeah. So if you don't have this in your tenant, it's defined with create outline structure, and then you do those definitions as you saw. Cool. So that gets the definition for this piece over here. Obviously, with every composite report, this is a technical feature. It's essentially the join conditions for all the data that we are now going to establish in different columns. Ledger account, and this is the first thing you define. So when you come into composite report, you first define the control field. First define the control field with being a ledger account, and it also uses that outline structure. You could actually expand it. There's actually a better setting here to expand at least this once. Shows you a little bit more. Okay, so that's that side. So these areas over here, as I said, you come in, you define that first. Yeah. Please note, of course, with composite reporting and Workday has training for this. This is not to replace training, this supplements it. You will definitely have to define when you go in there, you'll have to define your business object being ledger account and the hierarchy structure being the ledger account. This is again the outline structure. As you come into it, you define this first, and then obviously jump into this screen and start defining your control field. And then you can decide to go your row structures and column structures. Now in the column structures, we have the data. So this is the column that brings in this field of data called opening. And you'll see it's run on a sub-report. So I'm using a sub-report to go pick up the data. And the sub-report gets its data from in financial reporting, you're lucky. You've got a very few data sources that you use. Most used data sources, journal lines for financial reporting. The filter is for company and reporting time period that I'm using over here. So it prompts on company. That said, all right, so this is a matrix report. You guys are doing your training. You understand what a matrix report is. Here's your data source. The filter that I'm using on the row grouping, obviously got ledger account. I need that because it needs to line up with the control field on the composite report. So I need that. Field to summarize that I'm using is translated debit minus credit amount. This is a very flexible field. It allows you to pick the currency and run this report in various currencies. So it's obviously on the business object financial line. Now in the drill down area, I have a couple of things. I've got bank account suppliers, Workday, customers to Workday. So this, of course, is what allows me to do this piece. So you're seeing that over here. That's that piece. And then, of course, if I go on any one of these things, so I'm just going to drill down here a little bit more. This is not very exciting. Okay, here's probably more exciting. Here's all the journals that posted these. And so if I click on that, that click on, and what I'm seeing here is controlled by detailed data. So you're showing the journal and then translated debit minus credit amount. If you're allowed to show that journal like that, you can always jump from here onto the journal detail. That's why I like it in there. It might have security considerations, of course, which you'll discover. Nice thing about it is now I can jump up the journal and I can see everything. So I can see, again, this report is definitely for financial analysts who've got large access. And so here's a complete journal, right? So your debits and credits, your work tags, everything where it's been posted to. And that gets me further on this definition here. Moving on, I don't need a filters because most of my filters are supplied by this data source filter, and it supplies the set of filters. So here I'm prompting on company. The account type is the amount type is what I'm using, and the definition. So all of these prompts are coming up over here. So amount type, I'm saying this is the beginning balance, right? And that's why I have it as required, yes. Ledger, I already specify the default value actuals. When you're defining this and you do a drop down over here, you don't see anything, just type in actuals, will come. Then period, I'm going to prompt. Time period, I'm going to prompt. So obviously when you run the report, you see those prompts. Those are your prompts for company, for period, and for time period. Now where am I? Exactly over here. Account translation rule set, I just set it to, you'll probably have one standard over here. I set it to that and I suppress it. Translation currency, you need to select, right? So this is your translation currency over there. Balancing work tags, not using that. Work tags, not using it here. Plan structure, not using it. So I'm suppressing all of this here. Report effective date, suppress. It can be all of this all the way down to book. I'll leave book open. Then the ledger accounts and ledger account summaries. There again, it's back to your prompt of book and ledger account summary. And that's the wrong screen. Going further down, I'm suppressing eliminations and the rest as well. There's a lot of explanations how this all works, and that's really another topic. It's not a topic for this. No. So that is the sub-report now that I've used in the column 4 to find the column opening. So it's got the beginning balance. Here's a little bit of a trick. I'm actually using a value from a prompt set. Please note that. Everything else is prompted user, except when I specify the value over here. I'm going to explain why that's necessary. Just keep it in mind. And what I'm adding up here is sum of translated debit minus credit amount. Now, same pretty much goes for each of these columns, but they're using different sub-reports. So this is the one that's pretty much very the same as a report, but just returns the debit value, right? So this will look almost identical to the opening balance report. The only difference is that at the very bottom of here, I'm bringing in translated debit amount, and so I'm using right here, right? So the item I'm doing sum of translated debit amount, and the value, of course, is activity. So that's important to note that. Everything else is the same. Credit is another sub-report that brings credit. And here's the closing. And closing looks pretty much like the opening. It actually uses the same sub-report as opening, and it just specifies the value as the ending balance. And again, here's your prompt, a value from the prompt sets ledger account summary. And here's sum of translated debit minus credit amount, pretty much the same as opening. That's the settings here. Now, you will see I have a prompt set over here in the report. And now that since you've done your composite report training, you know what a prompt set is. It allows me to do that ledger prompt. This prompt that I'm using over here is actually the prompt on the report, is this ledger account summary prompt. I also have the prompt on the sub-report, but the reason why I'm using a prompt set over here, I'm trying to control. When you see, when I execute this as net income and I execute it, I actually get net income as this row right over here. Right? And if I picked anything else, let's say if I pick revenue, total revenue. Didn't want to do that. Let's go back. Type in the total revenue. Total revenue, and that's surprise, it worked, huh? Execute this. It's going to start right atop the total revenue. So what the piece that's controlling this is, one, the fact that I have a prompt set on the report, this prompt set, and then you would have seen here in my row definition, I'm saying the start over here, starting node, is this ledger account / summary. That's the prompt set. So this is actually the value from the prompt set. Okay. So those are all the tricks on that one. Pretty almost all I had to say on this one. Now the next report we're going to have a look at is even simpler than this report. So maybe I should have started with that one. But yeah, this is probably what you're more used to. And so let's go into something that's even more basic. Yeah. I use this report that I'm going to show you a lot to, as I said initially, to just analyze. One, when I'm writing complicated, well, this is not necessarily a complicated report over here, but once I've defined a report that's got cell calculations and everything in it and it's gone crazy, to verify the result in a cell calculation is correct, I will use one of these reports here, which allow me to pick certain things. Yeah? And so, for example, over here, I can pick company, MS, I can, now you see, I'm starting to expose more prompts over here. So I'm looking for activity. I'm going to pick March. It's going to be, well, let's say year-to-date value. It's going to be USD. And I can go even further. And so let's say I just want revenue. So I do the 4,000 over here. And I can run this. And so, yeah, we can go there. I mean, so here, do I have the same thing? Let me just say what I've got here. Current, obviously that's not going to work. Let's just say here as a year-to-date, right? Current period year-to-date, and it's got revenue and all that. And here, so then I drill down here. I should eventually have 400, 4,000. Okay, that's the same one. Now let's say I just wanted to validate that value. Why would I ever do that? But just for demonstration purposes. Yeah. So I should March activity current period year-to-date. That should be right. And I should hit right up that number. That's 26, 203.75. Now, it just gives you a flat-out number. Now, I mean, obviously, this number is what you've selected here, so you know what you selected. And now you're away for drilling down. I can see this by which company has posted it. So I picked USA, that's obvious. Which period, right? I can split this up by periods now. I've got January and February, and this one I could then split this up by customer. So you have a lot more drill down over here, right? Just a lot of slice and dice capabilities. So just demonstrate that. Plus, what I didn't show you here is it also has exposed the work tags. Now, the work tag is anything that you have in a journal. Often has got boatload of work tags. So where is that? Do a slightly journal. No, I lost the journal. Oh, wasn't it there? Right, here are all work tags, yeah? For example, spend category business licenses. I want to see how much money we're spending on this. So I can copy this. And go to this one, which is, I already think more like a Swiss Army knife, this one. Business licenses. Does it do that? There we go. And drop that out. Of course, that makes no sense. And I'll run this up. And so that was unexpected. So going back, spend category years, March activity, current period to date, GMS. Why would I not get business licenses? I should get debit amount of this USA. Maybe it had debit. Oh. Yeah, obviously. They're using spend category on the debit and the credit side, yeah. So, of course, it would certainly help over here to see whether it's the debit or the credit side. So I'd have to add in the count, 6400 over here. So 6400 legal services, and I can dial that up, right? So now I have that value there. Yeah, so it's extremely powerful. I mean, I've got a result here where I'm trying to figure out, I think I saved this as a demo. I'm just trying to figure out how much Morgan, right, is spending on travel expenses, or total expenses on this is probably travel expenses. And so I got the employee work tag in there, and so I can see, all right, this is Morgan's expenses. Again, run it by period. Okay, it's all in February, and spend category. Work tag, what is it, right? So it's travel entertainment. Knock on it, right? And so here are the different line items for that. So exceptionally flexible, quick result, clearly only intended for an analyst. And that's why I said these are two reports you should probably start out with right out the bat with your implementation. P1 tenant, get them up, get them running, start using them. Okay. Just in case you're wondering how this menu works, and starting to find that this is probably the best and the easiest way to deploy reports to users, as opposed to having them search over here. Because once you search over there, you're gonna hit up Workday delivered reports, standard reports, and stuff like that. So it's way better to put them into something like a role menu like this. And so, right, this is so for financial analysts. So I'll just show you how this piece looks like. So this is a report that's run on the data source custom reports I can run. So I'm going to show you what you can run as a user. It shows you the custom report. Please note, report shows executable, a brief description, and the number of times executed. That's like, the number of likes for something. It's nice and dynamic, something you can watch, and makes it more interesting. And so, but important here, it filters. It will show all the reports that have the report tag financial analyst. And so what you'll know by now is that I have tagged those two reports that I've just shown you with the report tag of financial analyst. And so as I'm creating reports during my implementation for certain roles, right, I just tag them with that role, and then they'll drop into the menu. So that's really useful as you're running along and developing. So just to put these tags in there. We saw right up front, there is another one, which this is the launch one, which is our custom reports. So you're just going to go with view custom report. That's pretty much the same, but just one slight tweak. Our custom reports, and it's also on the data source custom reports I can run. It shows you, now it doesn't show the number of times executed, but custom report brief description. It's filtering everything. It's going to show everything. This one's going to show all your level ones, right? So essentially your menu structure. So when you execute this, over here, it's going to pull in all the reports that you have essentially defined as level 1, right? So yes, this report here has got a tag of level 1. So if we go on the definition of this report, it's got a tag of level 1. Yeah. So you're going to have a report for financial analyst, for financial accountant, and you'll tag them with level 1. If you create another report for financial accountant, obviously that would be the next one on that list. The only difference is that over here on the output option, this has been defined as a worklet and that you are able to put on homepage. So in other words, the end users can add them onto their homepage here with this gear, and then just doing a plus, and then our custom reports. You can also force this deployment with forcing this as a workload on everyone's homepage, which I would certainly advise. All right, so there you have a start into your financial reporting, and you've started to use some important structures that I would just recommend to say. A couple of things that you've noticed, I've put everything in a menu. I always put a brief description over here for it, show the number of times executed, which makes it interesting. Just like nice governance features that you could use. All right, I hope this helps you.